Mobsters, of course, brought to you by Cell Saviors, Diming, and Grapplers Clash. Support the sponsors that support MMA Mobsters. And hey, we're here to, well, give you expert picks and do the best we can to make you money if you so choose to ride along with us. And of course, joined as always by the Choven one, Joshua Choven, who again proved that, well, we're going to start right out of the gates with last week's recap. Joshua, I want to, one, commend you and congratulate you on walking again and also on kicking ass last week. Talk to us about both.
Well, I appreciate that, brother. Pat, you've never sounded better, but are you John Cena now? I can't see you. What the frick's going on, man? You've
Yeah,
turned invisible, and so have I.
technical difficulties. We will make do this week with just audio. And look, the picks are the picks. That's what people are here for. They're not to.
Sir.
They're just not here to look at our mugs, bro. That's not what. So they're here to get the information. They're here to win, just as we are, because that's what we do. So,
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
Speaking of winning, talk about last week a little bit, brother.
Well, you guys have been spoiled this summer, obviously, at MMA Mobsters every single week. Pat and I will use our God given talents and also put in the work and research to give you the best analysis and picks that we can. As we usually do, we absolutely hit it out of the park. The Choven Live or Die Lock of the Week parlay came through. The first leg, Asplin certainly made it interesting, Pat. He showed off his very crisp, very powerful striking. For a former 600 pounder, he sure can move like a ballerina out there. Got a little bit cocky, maybe a little bit tired, and got cracked himself by Guilherme Pat, who can fight a bit himself. And then I am really sweating my probably about $1,500 parlay on this fight. And Asplin's getting tagged again to start the third round. I'm like, well, I'll never see that $1,500 ever again. What does Asplin do? Connects his knee to Guilherme Pat's forehead about halfway through the third round, a round which he was heavily losing. You'll love this, then I'll throw it to you. Guilherme Pat went from a plus 300 dog to probably about a minus 400 live favorite halfway through the third round. I think my bet's dead. Asplin turns that whole round and the whole fight around if that head kick wins the fight, and then Ty Miller makes it look easy. What do you think of the two-fight parlay there, bud?
I think it was money, obviously, number one, and I thought it was a pretty good card overall. And I think we did well. I think what would you say our percentage was, honestly, on the whole? You didn't bet on all the fights, but overall our picks. Where did we end up? Would you guess percentage wise?
Yeah, I think I bet on almost all the fights. I'm trying to find a fight that I didn't bet on. Oh, I didn't bet on the Nurgaze Bruno Lopez fight. That was about it. But I would say that my hit rate for the night was probably around 91, 96%. Our producer's telling us that sounds about right. I'm trying to desperately find a bet that we got wrong. And I'm not trying to, here you go, Pat. Starting off the card, we slightly leaned Gigi Canuto in a chick fight. It was a close fight. She won the second round, almost finished her. That was the only fight we got wrong. Was a narrow lean on Gigi Canuto. We got it out of the way. First fight of the night. We literally won everything after that.
Good. That's track record again, proving itself. So happy about that. And then uh, you wanted to talk a little bit about Lopez moving to 155, didn't you?
Yeah, first I wanted to get your take on maybe just a couple of these fights. I'll pick out a couple of my favorites and maybe you can give me a take on this. I don't think I've ever enjoyed $150 bet, which not trying to flex for me isn't a ton of risk, but $150 bet on Miles Johns to win. I don't know if you saw this, Pat, but Gianni Vasquez, who can thump if nothing else, lit the old man up, knocked him down, looked like he was knocked out. Miles Johns said, call the ambulance, but not for me. Hopped up and knocked out an over aggressive Vasquez as he was coming in for a kill shot. I don't think I've ever enjoyed winning a $150 bet so much. Did you see that particular early fight? Is Pat still with us? Okay. Yeah, a couple other. I really like Ty Miller. I think that he'll win his next 3 or 4 fights that they put in front of him. Some guys know how to use their size, some guys don't, and Ty Miller certainly does. Quinlan Salkild's a killer. Saw him, Pat, earlier. I think he's maybe 1 fight away from a title shot. If you can hear me, Pat. Quinlan Salkild, 155 is not as loaded as 170, but I mean, when you talk about 155, Justin Gaethje is your champion. Ilya Topuria, Max Holloway, and Armin Sarukian are all looming in the wings. I think you got to put Quinlan Salkeld right after those guys. Are we still looking for Pat, or is he back?
I think if you can hear me, that I would be
Yes, sir.
looking to either gain a lot of muscle and move to 170 or cut down to 145. That's a murderer's row at 155, if you can hear
I
me.
agree. I agree with that, sir. And then before we move on to the news, I want to let you victory lap real quick. I was already leaning Diego Ferreira just because Billy Quarantillo hasn't looked like himself. You made a fantastic point. I think it's one of the best points you've made in almost 4 years of us doing this show. You're like, Billy Q was barely handling hard shots at 145. It's a different world at 155. Diego Ferreira, despite being 42-year-olds, can still crack. He may not finish Billy Q in the first round, but those shots will change him, and he won't be able to just resurrect in the third round. Applause to you, Pat. You couldn't have called that any better. Talk about that, and then we'll jump to news. How about that?
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's physics. It's simple physics, and if you're getting beat up and hurt by smaller men, you know, a bigger guy who's got striking skills is definitely going to hurt you. So, not
Yeah.
wise to move up in weight when you can't take punishment in that manner. And so, yeah,
Yes.
Billy
What do
Q,
we got for news?
nice kid, great kid, tough
Yeah.
fighter, but he took a lot of abuse in that fight.
Yeah, it definitely was evident, and interesting to see where Billy Q goes. It may be 1 or 2 fights, then he may be hitting the retirement hallways. All right, what do we got up first for news, Pat?
AJ Ferrari looking potentially to join his brother at the University of Iowa on the wrestling team there. That's kind of a interesting development. The Brands boys potentially recruiting AJ Ferrari now.
Yeah, Pat, it's got a. I like it. There are people who will scream and protest in the streets, and I guess they have the right to do that. But the Browns want to win, man, and Iowa wants to win. I don't have to tell you, but I'll tell our viewers this was the #1 wrestling program in the world for a long time, and now they're not even #2. They're more like a #3. They have been lapped by Penn State, and now the Iowa States and Oklahoma States are even giving a run for their money. So it's win at all costs. Iowa thinks that they can fix the wild AJ Ferrari, the John Jones of college wrestling. Do you think that they can, Pat? And do you have any wild stories from the OG Iowa wrestling days and the Brands brothers you'd like to bless us with?
Well, if anybody could fix AJ Ferrari's going off the tracks periodically, it would probably be the Brands brothers because
Yes.
they're very intense and you know their demands and work ethic and things like that are really uh, hard to match, to say the least. And yeah, I've had some great interactions with the Brands brothers, Tom and Terry both. And my first real interaction with Tom and Terry Brands was at Carver Hawkeye Arena before an Iowa wrestling meet when Royce Alger was doing the strength and conditioning for the team. And Alger had fought in the UFC, had lost 2 in a row, and had been released from the UFC by that time, of course. And and you know, Royce is a world class wrestler, amazing wrestler, but not the best well rounded fighter. We'll just say that.
Uh-huh.
And he got armbarred. He got armbarred once, and then he got KO'd once. I think he lost to Incident away, and then trying to remember now, but he got knocked out by another fighter in the UFC, Jackson. Anyway, I'm standing on the floor talking to Alger, and all of a sudden, the Brands brothers come up to me and like bookends, and they're staring at the side of my head on both sides of me. And and one of them goes, "Hey, Milicic, when's Alger going to get a chance to go back in the UFC?" And I look down I can't remember now, Tom or Terry, and I go, when he learns how to fight. And they kind of looked they kind of looked at me like, okay, that's a good enough answer, I guess. So, yeah, it was pretty interesting moment in my interactions with those two characters, that's for sure.
I have a question
All
for
right.
you. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Pat.
No, I was just going to say, just look, yeah, very intense guys, winners through and through. I guess they just aren't used to being spoken to like that, and
Yep.
the abrupt answer that I gave them.
Oh, I've seen you catch many people off guard with your with your quick, honest answers. I like it. I guess before we get on to the fights, you don't have to name anyone in particular if you don't feel like that would be fair, but talk about maybe a guy or two that you ran across at Militech Fighting Systems or somewhere else who was the next John Jones, who was the next Matt Hughes, who had everything possible except a fighter spirit and the desire to get punched in the face. How do you deal with the guys like that? You just say you can't change a zebra's stripes or what?
Well, I think there's some guys that just don't have the propensity, uh, the ability to deal with the punishment, I guess. Very talented athletes, things like that. But then there's other guys that, injuries sidetrack them, illnesses, family issues, financial stuff, whatever. A lot of guys get negatively affected by circumstances in life and can get sidetracked. So there's more to it, obviously, than just going to practice and learning how to fight and all that sort of stuff. There's a lot of things that have to go right for somebody to get all the way to the top, and there's also that mentality of no matter what goes wrong, it doesn't matter as well. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
So okay.
All right. Time for some fights. Sounds good, buddy. You want to kick us off with our
Let's
first
do
fight
that.
of the night?
All right. Yeah. Okay. Bottom of the card, working our way up. Jeremiah Wells, number 29 in the world against Orabai. Orabai's 16-2, and Wells is 13-4. Both guys in the KO division have done really well. Submission area, pretty solid. Fared, better than 500 in the decisions. What's your breakdown of these two on the bottom of the card?
Yeah, Pat. First off, let's play a little game. If you were to guess who would be the favorite in this fight, who would you pick, and would it be a big or a small favorite? Because I think these odds will shock you if you haven't seen them yet.
Orabai, to me, I lean a little bit towards him. Both these guys are pretty solid. Quality of opponents for, both of them have been, better than a 5. We'll say that. Up, a little tougher for Orabai from my observation. But, that's where I lean a little bit with Orabai.
Yeah, and you're setting me up here, Pat, because that's what I thought too. What if I told you Miktek Orobai was in the promised land of minus 1,200? He's opened up at minus 600, which is already a little bit high, and he's been steamed out to the moon here. So we're starting off with most likely the Chauvin lock of the week. I mean, I get it. I would have picked Orobai too. Jeremiah Wells is kind of all over the place, never seems to really know who he is or what he's doing, but he has potential. He can strike. He has a jiu-jitsu game, seems to get taken down pretty easily, and that's kind of what the Miktek Orobai, they literally call him the caveman in the most not offensive way possible. He's a terrifying looking guy, and he's really good at steaming you to the ground and holding you there. Minus 1,200 seems a little silly, but I have to follow the line movement. His line is doubled, Pat. Minus 600 to minus 1,200. This is looking like the free money trade hits us on the first fight of the night.
All right. Well, hey, without looking at the odds, I mean, I was leaning that way, so I'm not completely off base, but 1,200 maybe seems a little much. We'll find out when the fight happens, right?
Yeah, and as usual, anytime that a UFC male favorite fighter gets into that illustrious four-digit range, that's minus 1,000 or higher, they win 99% of the time. We've seen it. We just saw it with poor Darren Elkins getting crushed last week. The four-digit favorites are as close to free money as we get in UFC. So let's just add another one to the list.
Okay, brother. All right, moving on to Ramiz Brahimaj against Neil Magny. Neil Magny with 45 fights total in his career. I think he's got what? Almost almost. Well, wait a minute. I think Neil Magny has almost how many fights does he have in the UFC?
I think he's
35 or more?
Yeah, he's up there. He's maybe 7 or 8 behind Jim Miller. Maybe not even that much, but a lot. A lot. Oh, you gotta be okay. So looks like yeah, I know. Ramiz Brahimaj opened up at minus 110. He's out to minus 152. I like that line movement a lot. Brahimaj is he's a he's a kid. He's a good kid. He's been the underdog most of his UFC fights, so gotta love the move from usual underdog in his first two UFC fights to he keeps winning as an underdog. Let's make him a small favorite. The professional sports bettors said small favorite isn't good enough. Let's drive him from like minus 105 out to minus 150. So Brahimaj, not as the massive line movement, but honestly, I like the Brahimaj pick almost as much as the Miktek oral buy pick, but instead of betting 100 to make $10, you're betting 100 to make like $80. So that is certainly interesting. Lucas Fernando, tread carefully. He's been a massive favorite in his last two fights and been knocked out brutally. But minus 45 to minus 280, I like it, but I don't know. It's interesting the sports bettors are moving that line because they have to all be, we all follow line movement. So they have to be a little concerned about Fernando's past few fights, but Tobias is there to be beat. I think they're honestly trying to correct Lucas Fernando's path and get this really good, really hyped up prospect that they probably signed to a decent deal, try to get him straightened out and back in the winning ways. And as Coach Pat can attest, that's sometimes all that it takes. Trayshawn Gore versus Vicente Luque. This is this is a fun fight. These are two fighters that are similar, and I like Luque here. He pulled off an upset in his last one. I don't know how Trayshawn Gore is still in the UFC. I really don't. Luque, it's two different stories. It's Trayshawn Gore as a young kid that really has lost way more than he's won, probably on his way out of the UFC. Luque is more of a veteran, close to a UFC Hall of Famer who has earned the right to go on his own terms. Trayshawn Gore hasn't. I think this is almost being given to Luque as somewhat as a gift. So I like Luque here. Brrr, I cannot do words today. How now, brown cow? How now, brown cow? Moving on. Dante Johnson, the former Caged Aggression champion. Shout out Caged Aggression. Dante Johnson, I mean, he did win his last fight. I don't know that it was super impressive. He went to a split decision with Cody Brundage. But Cody Brundage is tough. It's not the first guy that he's come out and surprised a little bit. But again, give me Dante Johnson as my pick. Joel Alvarez, coming off a loss finally, but he was fighting an incredibly good Ukrainian fighter, Yaroslav Amaslav, who I have a lot of respect for. I don't think there's much shame in that loss. I think Amaslav beats just about anyone in the 155-pound division, except for maybe the top five. So I do like Joel Alvarez here. Chidi and Giuliani has never impressed me much. If they would have made this fight before Joel Alvarez got a little bit embarrassed by Amaslav, Alvarez would have been minus 700 for this fight. So I think you're getting a bit of a discount on Alvarez. I actually love really good fighters coming off a loss. I think Alvarez bounces back and probably makes this look easy. I think minus 335 is too cheap. By the way, that line did open up at minus 250, so the line's already moving a little bit. Esteban Ribovic against the ghost of Edson Barboza. We saw Jalen Turner absolutely put the lights out on an aging Barboza a few months ago, and I think that left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. But this is what Jalen Turner is. He's 3 minutes of thunder, and if you can survive that, then you'll beat him. He's an incredibly good fighter for the first 3 minutes and just kind of walked Barboza down and made it look easy, almost a little bit too easy. Rebovics is a good fighter. He's a young fighter. He opened up at minus 400 on. This is a good betting card. I'm sad that Pat's not around for most of it, but technological issues do happen. Rebovic, real roll here, minus 400 to minus 750 on Caesars. That's close to a lock. Abdul Malik, we got another massive favorite fighting Dustin Stoltzfus. I don't know what Stoltzfus did to deserve this fight. There's a reason Malik is minus 700, and this is why a lot of people have issues with this card because the card opens with 2 or 3 fights that should be absolute maulings. But hey, it'll build our bankroll. It'll make us some money, even though it's not the most entertaining, knuckle biting card of pay-per-view of all time. Speaking of Jalen Turner, there he is. Minus 142. He opened up at minus 160. He's fighting Cal Fernandez. I just got done saying the book on Jalen Turner. I kind of set myself up for this. You get him 3 minutes into the fight, and he turns into a pumpkin, and not in a good way. It's a live betting opportunity. If you see Jalen Turner not even get out of the first round, because then the sports books will flip the lines, and they're not dumb, but 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes into the first round, if he hasn't finished Cal Fernandez, it's probably a 90% chance Cal Fernandez wins the fight in one way or the other. Because Jalen Turner, he just isn't the same fighter after the not even the first round, the first few minutes. Get into co-main event time here. Mackenzie Dern, minus 210 against Jillian Robertson. I mean, it's obvious. Jillian Robertson, very good wrestler, very good submission artist, very good at jiu-jitsu, not good at striking. Mackenzie Dern has at least evolved her striking. She can crack, she can thump. Jillian Robertson's never cracked or thumped in her life. It's going to be very basic sparring, very basic. It's essentially going to be a very defense-based striking, which is to avoid big shots, maybe touch you a couple times, but really just take you down. Mackenzie Dern just has more weapons. Is it possible that Jillian Robertson just holds her down for 25 minutes? I mean, maybe, but I don't for a round or two. But keep in mind, Jillian Robinson's also never gone 5 rounds. Mackenzie Dern has multiple times. I like Jillian. She's the adorable red-headed Canadian. She's not super pretty, but she's cute like a sister. She's everyone's adopted UFC sister. So nobody wants to see her get brutalized by Mackenzie Dern, but that's probably what's going to happen here. Mackenzie Dern's going to be too big, too strong. I look for her to unfortunately beat Jillian Robertson up a little bit. It's a bad matchup for Jillian Robertson. It just is. Main event time, Islam Makhachev. I'll make this short and sweet. It's interesting to me that the great Islam Makhachev, who has essentially never lost outside of a fluke maybe 10 years ago in the UFC or in MMA in general, he probably just rolls again. The only time we've ever seen Makhachev get tested was in the Volkanovski 1 fight and somewhat in the Poirier fight, even though he did eventually win 4 or 5 rounds. There were moments where it looked like he was getting tested a little bit. Gary's an awful matchup. People want to make fun of Ian Machado Gary for about 100 different reasons, and I get it. He's a really fucking good fighter. He is such a horrific matchup. The way that he cuts angles, he is a more technical striker than probably anyone in the UFC, and I'll get laughed at for that, but he's very special. He's very good. He is a weird personality, but part of that is being obsessed with the game, and it's not good enough for him to be one of the best strikers in the UFC. He's developed a tremendous jiu-jitsu game. He's developed a great wrestling arsenal, at least as far as stopping takedowns go. Any UFC fan who's been watching for more than 5 minutes knows that you'll need takedown defense against Islam Makhachev, against really any of the Nurmagomedov clan. So we'll see if he can get it done here. I do think it's worth noting that Makhachev opened up at minus 380. He's now down more like minus 350, minus 360 now. It's just 20 points. It's just maybe 5% of his line, but it does matter that he isn't getting steamed up to, loftier heights. Professional sports bettors seem to think this will be a relatively close fight, somewhat of a test. Makachev probably rolls, but I don't know. Something about this just makes me a little bit nervous. I'm going to pick Makachev, but he's far from a lock. Thanks everyone for watching. Obviously, a shorter episode. Not entirely sure. Like, subscribe, and share. Enjoy the fights. We will have things fixed and back up and working next week. These things happen sometime. I'm just thankful that Pat and I were able to chat for a little bit and we were able to get the picks out there. And my producer had me here rolling with the punches. These are my bets. These are my picks. Not the most entertaining show. I get that. But you got my bets. You got my picks. This is a really good fucking betting card, even though people are absolutely crucifying it as the most boring, watered down pay per view of all time. As often is the case, the cards that the super fans love or hate, the ones that the super fan, diehard fans hate, are the cards that the sports bettors love because there'll often be some weird fights where it's obvious who's going to win. I'd rather take a money making UFC card over a fun UFC card any night of the day, any night of the week, any night of the year. Multiple locks on this card. Go back and listen if you didn't get them. Thank you for watching. Thank you for everyone who's reached out in my medical journey. I'm walking on these boots with no crutches, no walker, no wheelchair, no nothing. I'll be continuing to walk as those bones heal. The pain through the boots is good for the bones. It helps them heal. That's what they told me. So I'm walking on the boots. I'm wincing through the pain, and the feet are progressively getting stronger. So thank you for your prayers. Continue to reach out. You will get me and Pat live on video next week. We'll get this thing figured out. We've overcome much worse. We love you. MMA Mobsters to the moon. Watch, like, and subscribe on YouTube. Please help us build our following. Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. We also have social media up running, constantly posting clips on all of those sites. The great UFC for the great UFC Hall of Famer, Pat Militech, for the best producer in the world, Lee Neese. I am Joshua Chauvin, professional sports gambler, signing off. Enjoy UFC 330. We'll get this figured out. We'll see you next